Not only did the influx of colonization greatly alter Aboriginal landscapes, but it also extended its influence to an often overlooked but immensely important aspect of their culture and livelihood: their nutrition, their diet, and their overall health. Aboriginals were once a resourceful and independent people who supported themselves by hunting wild animals and foraging their lands for uncultivated plants. Exactly what has changed, one may ask? Well, in the face of westernization, this answer is both dire and unfortunate. First, how does a hunter-gatherer diet compare to a westernized diet in regards to nutrition? Second, over the years, how did European settlement impact the Aborigines' previous diet? And lastly, has this shift been for better or for worse? Based on long-term studies of the relations between lifestyle and health in traditionally oriented Aboriginal groups, people were proficient health-wise in the following areas: physical fitness, leanness, blood pressure, low fasting cholesterol, low fasting glucose, and also no evidence of diabetes, coronary heart disease, or age-related blood pressure spikes was found. Thus, this data suggests that the nomadic lifestyle is made for a much healthier existence in comparison to the now westernized Aboriginal communities of today. According to one study, a group of adult Aborigines from Western Australia who were examined at first contact in the 1960s had body mass indexes ranging from 13.2 to 19.5, which is quite low and indicative of proficient health. With this, there is no increase in BMI with age for full-blood Aborigines living under nomadic or near-nomadic conditions. Moving on to aspects and methods of the hunter-gatherer lifestyle. They traditionally lived in bands based on extended family groups, numbering around 20 to 30 people, and their omnivorous diet was dependent on their intimate knowledge of the land, fresh water sources, and the impact of the annual cycle of season changes on flora and fauna. Additionally, men and women both contributed equally to food procurement in varying ways. First, women generally provided subsistence diet by gathering plant foods, honey, eggs, small mammals, reptiles, fish, insects, etc., and on occasion men participated in these activities as well, but they were primarily hunters who focused on providing feasts from large animals such as kangaroos, birds, reptiles, and/or fish. As far as the meal schedule goes, Aborigines generally followed the rule that there was one main meal in a day. This meal occurred during the late afternoon when people returned to camp after the day's activities. Despite this, though, people would eat snacks throughout the day, such as grubs, fruits, gum, honey ants, honey from wild bees, etc. This general food pattern made for speedy metabolism and could be summarized as subsistence interspersed with feasts. Comprehensive knowledge of animal distribution and behavior was essential to the Aborigines' survival as they approached hunting around a number of factors, such as hibernation and nesting behavior, egg-laying times and locations, and seasonal changes. All animals were considered as potential food sources, and everything edible on an animal carcass was consumed, including muscle, fat depots, and internal organs. The benefit of this dietary approach is that wild animals have a low fat content on their carcass, which starkly contrasts domesticated animals in a more westernized diet, such as cattle, sheep, pigs, chickens, etc., which have fat deposits under the skin and between muscles. The little fat that is found in the wild animals is structural fat and rich in polyunsaturated fatty acids. These acids have healthy benefits and important physiological functions as a vital component of cell membranes. They are essential to growth and development of the brain and retina, and they help modulate blood flow. Seasonally, insects also provide significant contributions to the Aborigine diet. Honey from wild bees and the honey ant provide important dietary carbohydrates. Witchetty grubs are rich in healthy fats, and the bogong moth is a highly valued source of protein, and are plentiful in the mountains of Southeast Australia. Uncultivated plants provide dietary carbs and fiber, vitamins, and other nutrients. First, plants like tuberous roots, fruits, berries, seeds, nuts, beans, and honey commonly provide dietary carbs. Other important foods are yams and wild plums. Dietary transversa is a commonly consumed yam that is very nutrient dense as it's high in fiber, potassium, magnesium, and calcium, and it's also low in sodium. The commonly eaten wild plum species, Terminalia fernandiana, has the highest vitamin C content of any known food. Seeds such as sika and wattle seeds provide protein in rich quantities of linoleic acid. The food preparation utilized by Aborigines resulted in minimal loss of nutrients and micronutrients, and much food was eaten fresh or raw. Some types of food, like moths though, for example, were eaten baked or roasted. To summarize, the typical traditional diet was low in unhealthy fats and high in the important stuff, such as carbs, fiber, protein, and nutrients. The daily diet varied according to the type of plants and animals available in the particular location and season. To adhere to this variance, an extensive knowledge of their natural surroundings was necessary, and the hunter-gatherer lifestyle also meant plenty of healthy physical activity. When Europeans arrived in Australia in the late 18th century, the traditional Aboriginal diet shifted to include Western foods such as flour, sugar, and processed meat. Indigenous people on cattle stations or government settlements had fewer opportunities to forage for food and tended to rely more and more on European staples that lacked essential nutrients. Consequently, this gave way to a rise in protein, vitamin, and mineral deficiencies. European settlement also meant the introduction of new foreign plants and animals and reduced access to land. Additionally, an increase in bushfires occurred, which further hindered the indigenous people's ability to gather and hunt for food in traditional ways. Eating behaviors that favored survival in the hunter-gatherer era now transitioned to promote the development of obesity and sedentary living. Due to westernization, the typical Aboriginal diet today is high in fat and sugars and low in nutritional value. There's no need to hunt and forage for food, so physical activity levels are generally low. Indigenous people of the Northern Territory now consume more sugar, white flour, and carbonated soft drinks than the average Australian, and the typical modern Aboriginal diet is proven to be currently especially low in vitamin C, calcium, and magnesium. To convey the seriousness of this transition, in westernized Aboriginal communities, 50 to 80% of those over the age 35 are overweight or obese. From high levels of consumption of unhealthier foods, the modern diet of the Aborigines has been linked to increased rates of such diseases and conditions as circulatory diseases, strokes, cardiovascular diseases, obesity, diabetes, hypertension, and insulin resistance. Diabetes has turned into a major health issue for Aborigines, and its incidence is on the rise. It is estimated that Aboriginal people are 3.4 times more likely than non-Aboriginal people to have diabetes or prediabetes. Kimberley population, which is in northern Western Australia, has the fourth highest prevalence of type 2 diabetes in the world. Kidney disease is a complication of diabetes and is 10 times more likely to occur in Aborigines when compared with non-Aborigine people. Transitioning from hunting and gathering to sedentary consumption as a result of westernization, Aboriginal health is affected by modern diet high in fat with little to no nutritional value. As a result, Indigenous Australians have an increased risk in developing such diseases as diabetes and cardiovascular disease. I can only hope that Aborigine and non-Aborigine people alike begin to take notice of the impact of these habits and work together to construct a healthier future.